Hello and welcome to the first round of the 2026 Grid Series Championship here at TeamSport Acton. You can see I'm starting Heat 1 in third place behind Adonis and Dante. A few laps into the race we do get caught by KO, who sends it down the inside here. There's a little bit of contact, but I think it's a fair move overall. Ultimately, the points for Grid Series are determined by where you finish in your weight class in the final. So I'm not too fussed about fighting the lightweights in the heats here, but he does get well out of shape coming out of that corner, opens up the inside, so I'll reclaim third position. We get some pressure a little bit later on from Saib, who's another lightweight, so again not particularly interested in wasting time fighting him here, but I have got the inside, so I'm going to keep my foot in, keep the position. He tries to go around the outside on the next corner as well. I'm not going to work through there. And eventually he goes for a bit of a dive bomb there, perhaps a day late and a dollar short. Not sure that was ever really going to work, but he sticks with us and we do get a little bit more pressure towards the end. The race comes to a very abrupt stop, and for some reason I'm classified first. I think that's because they left it in qualifying mode, so it was determined by fastest lap and not race position. Heat 2 was supposed to be the reverse grid of the finishing order in Heat 1. I'm not sure that's actually how it played out, but in any case, I'm starting towards the back and I've got to fight my way through some significantly slower traffic. There's plenty of contact up ahead. You can see Adonis there, not particularly happy with being squeezed, and I can't really blame him. He does open up a gap for us here. We're going to follow him through, and unfortunately we get loaded by KO behind, who pushes us into the right hand side and pushes us into the left of kart 24 ahead, causing a collision and allowing him through. He's closely followed by Dante. I don't think that was very sportsmanlike, to be honest. I don't know what he's waving his hand about, because I think that was his fault, to be honest with you. In any case, we managed to stick with the pack. There's yet more contact to come. You can see Adonis, despite probably being the quickest overall on the night, is still really struggling to get through the traffic here. We're following closely behind another heavyweight, and despite him making contact with the barrier partway through that corner, he's still got the power to outgun me down that straight. So I'm starting to think at this point, kart number 3 perhaps is a little bit down on power. He lifts very early for that corner though, which allows me back through on the inside. I do eventually claim that position. We've got a slower running kart here. I think they probably started quite far forward by nature of the reverse grid, but they are holding people up now, and I think the kart on my right was taken aback by just how slow they were through that corner. Loses track of their surroundings and doesn't realise I'm still there on the outside. So a little bit of contact there, but we both live to fight another day, and eventually we do find our way past the slower running driver. They have got kart number 6, which is the best in the fleet at the moment, but ultimately it's not enough to make up for the lack of experience. There's a restart here, and again we are holding on quite closely to the back of a very dense pack, waiting for an opportunity to creep through. Almost 3 abreast there. Dom goes through on the inside, opens up a gap, and we're able to squeeze back alongside KO, who actually leaves some space for me there, so that's all fine. He drives around the outside, reclaims the position, all fair and square there, and I find a gap to squeeze past Dom. Now again, my objective here is not to beat these lightweights really, it's just to finish ahead of all the other heavyweights. So I am being a little bit cautious in some of these corners, not going all out attack. KO is eventually held up though by the remaining heavyweight ahead. That allows me to squeeze back through, and eventually we finish in 5th position. Ivan just ahead is the leading heavyweight in this heat, but ultimately I don't think that's going to matter too much. Heat 3, we're starting in Second, I've given up trying to understand the logic behind these grid positions. In any case, Adonis beats us off the start, as you'd expect from a lightweight, and not much point in fighting these guys. Hopefully we can just follow them through, get a bit of a tow and break away from the pack. They do fight amongst themselves quite a bit though, and that does reduce their pace. I have half a mind to attack Adonis there, but the gap wasn't really on and I didn't really fancy putting either of us in the wall. Very similar situation this time around with Dante, but that does allow KO to creep up back behind us, and he goes for the dive bomb there, and yeah, perhaps a day late and $1 short, but unfortunately that does put him in the wall, brings out the red flag, and though we do restart, we're immediately under yellows, and that's ultimately the end of heat 3. So again, I finished in 3rd position, which I'm becoming quite accustomed to now, and again I'm in the leading heavyweight. So mission accomplished so far. Good to see the sportsmanship up ahead between Adonis and Dante, who nearly treats us to a collision with the wall on the in-lap, but just about rescues it. So here's the final. I'm starting in 4th. In front of us we've got Adonis on pole, Dante in 2nd, Sahib in 3rd. Again, these are all lightweights, so I'm not particularly wanting to force my way past these guys if it's going to cost me a load of time. But what a move from KO. Let's see this from KO cam. Fairly average start, nothing to shout about there. I glance over my shoulder, there's no one there, so I feel safe. He hits the boost and his car rockets up the ramp. There you go, the power of number 6, ladies and gentlemen, and completely bamboozles me. Very nicely done, credits where it is due. A few laps later though, he does go wide for the ramp, and I do get alongside him. More than 50% alongside there. Don't think he should have turned in on me. I let him have every right to the corner. We have a bit of a scrap over the following laps. Very, very difficult to shake off kart number 6, especially when it's being driven by a lightweight. We do eventually catch up though with Dante and Sahib, who have been scrapping amongst themselves, and Sahib goes to cover the inside in one corner, leaves it for the next corner, and thank you very much, I will take that position all day long. A few laps later though, he goes for his own dive bomb. I think this time I probably should have left the space. Yeah, he was more on the long side there. From one slow-mo to another though, you can see I get a bit of a punt from behind from KO here, who pushes me wide, and I think illegally claims P3. Not sure that should have been allowed, to be honest. And whilst we do finish 4th on the road, it turns out that the marshals agree with me, because it's me who's allowed to step on to 3rd place on the podium. 3rd place overall, 1st in class. That's what we want from the first round of Grid Series, maximum points. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you for the next round next month.